All right, everybody, welcome. Happy Friday, and we are a week away from Christmas. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you guys. And we are going live. Welcome back. And last week we were in far away. I'm not gonna say where we were, but let's just say
we were in Florida.
We were far away.
That's right. We're that rich.
Well, technically, so my wife didn't want us to know. Didn't want our friends to know that, but it's okay. Anyways. Let's go on with the show. We got a couple of topics here today. I don't know what what topic we would.
We got a lot.
Well, I don't know what topic we would verge into, right? Because we oftentimes start with something and then we always end up with something that wasn't part of our. It's just conversation.
That's
right?
just a show, man. This is just us hanging out.
It's usually my fault. I'll hear something.
No, Nick, you make things interesting.
Yeah, we need a nice blend of.
Sam is so structured. We need some ambiguity.
Yeah. So a couple things we can pitch off to get started. I got to disable my audio here. But a couple things we can get started. Wow. So there's a couple things on the table right now. A lot of different things on the table. Bitcoin, housing market. We're a couple days or a couple weeks from 2021. I can't believe it's happening already. 2021. This year went by fast. And then we'll talk about the stimulus update because I think we're close. I think the Congress, Senate, they're getting pretty close as far as nailing something down for a stimulus package, the $900 billion package. So a couple things we're going to go head off first. Well, what do you want to hit off first? Do you want to do the housing market? Do you want to do Bitcoin? What do you want to talk about?
Let's say Bitcoin for the end.
Okay.
Because Nick and I have got some thoughts on Bitcoin.
Grand finale.
It's the grand finale, by the way. But why don't you go ahead and start on the stimulus, Sam?
Yeah, so what's on the stimulus right now is it's almost like... it's kind of like how do I describe this? It's like a cup where water is filled to the brim, and you can see the water kind of like on top, right? It's like at the verge of spilling over, but it's not, and that's what the stimulus package is right now. It's like at the verge of passing and verge of getting things approved, but it's not. It's stalling, and the market clearly is responding to that this morning. We did see S&P 500 drop a little bit because obviously there's some stall. Oh, we should also talk about the vaccines because it almost seems like the vaccine didn't help with the conversation. So right now, the stimulus package where it's at is it's $900 billion. And I'm getting this source from, and I know some of you guys don't like this source, but this is Washington Post, basically talking about what is the friction right now with the stimulus package. So again, the total is $900 billion and some change. And when I say some change, it's like plus or minus $3 to $5 billion. So right now, the negotiators are still on the standstill. It was supposed to get passed this week, has not. It might be, I don't know, by the time we're on the show or by the time you're watching this, it might be passed already. So right now, the stimulus package has $600 stimulus checks for millions of Americans. So it went from $1,200 check to $600. 10 weeks of jobless aid, so that's the unemployment insurance benefit. I believe the amount is $300. May have to fact check me. $330 billion in small business assistance, money for vaccine distribution, and funding for a range of other different programs. So that's what's on the table right now. So yes, there is a stimulus check of $600 instead of a $1,200. Okay. And of course, what's happening on the GOP side is they're still demanding limits to the Federal Reserve and Treasury Department's emergency lending program. So basically what this is the Republican senators and the Republican side of the conversation in the stimulus talks is that they want to limit or they want to make the lending more stricter in terms of the emergency lending programs. This could be your SBA program, the EIDL loans, the Paycheck Protection Program loans, which I do agree that EIDL was abused like no other. There was so much false information, a lot of fraud.
Well, don't forget, Sam.
Yeah,
snitches get stitches.
That
came through one of the comments on that video.
Yeah. So EIDL that definitely needed some fix in terms of verifying the authenticity of the applications coming in. So I do agree with that personally. I do agree that they should make that stricter. They should check the EIN number, see if they filed taxes with the IRS, see if the LLC or the corporation was filed with the state Secretary of State. So those are things that I do agree.
Well, let me ask you a question though.
Yeah.
As we all know, small businesses have like suffered immensely, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, have you guys looked at the? I'm sorry to cut you off, Nick.
No,
but
you're good.
have you guys seen that chart where it's like the wealth transfer of like how big Amazon grew and how big like these massive corporations have grown
Dude, it's
at the expense of small business? What was that? Do you remember that number?
So the amount of
Yeah,
people-
it was like some market share or something like that that like went over to like Amazon, Apple, and Walmart.
Well, I'll take a look at it. Let me take a look
pull
at
that
it.
up, young. Pull that up, Jamie. Yeah, pull that up, Jamie. Well, what were you gonna say, Nick? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
What I was gonna say is the fact that a lot of these small businesses, I mean, especially like in the hospitality and
Yeah.
restaurant, they are suffering like big time.
For sure.
But how? I mean, should it be stricter for the EIDL and some of these other grants for companies like that? Because I feel like that's a big deal.
So you're saying should we restrict and make it harder for wealthier companies to borrow?
Oh,
Is that
absolutely.
what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for especially for small businesses, I mean, I would argue and say that it's the backbone of our economy, right?
Yeah, I would also make the argument that I think they tried that. So Paycheck Protection Program and the EIDL program. I mean, like Amazon isn't going to be interested in borrowing $100,000. Like $100,000, they just made it right now.
Right.
Right. It's
Right,
like,
right.
They don't even have to wait. But $100,000 can go a long way for Jim and Joe's bakery shop down the street.
For sure.
It definitely could. So for a size of like Amazon, they probably want to borrow like 100 million.
Yeah.
Right? It's probably the ballpark range that they need, which Amazon isn't suffering. Walmart probably, right? Walmart or restaurant businesses probably more likely to borrow, right?
Yeah.
Like Panera Bread, McDonald's,
Correct.
even them, they're not suffering too bad.
No.
But I think SBA did try making it stricter by asking these companies that are seeking larger loans by providing more documentation, such as tax returns, income verification balance sheets, trailing 12 statements for certain cash flow businesses. So Paycheck Protection Program, definitely, for sure.
Yeah.
EIDL, and I think there were certain limits to that as well. I think EIDL was initially 25 million, and then they dropped it to like 2 million, and then they dropped it again.
All right,
to
so
like
I got the number.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the number is, so check this out. So there's an article that was put out by the Keenan Institute, which actually I go there a lot for a lot of housing market material. But okay, so this translates to small businesses, and they're classifying small business as a business with 500 employees or less.
Right, that's the classic definition.
That is the classic definition. I wasn't sure if they knew that, but
Yeah.
we know it obviously.
Right,
But-
right.
All right, so now you guys know too. This translates to, they were talking about displaced, 4.3 million people who were let go.
Wow.
Right, so they were let go because of the small business was suffering. 4.3 people are displaced workers.
Yeah.
And as of right now, there are 12 million workers who are considered vulnerable, and they're predicting that 12 million additional people in the small business
let go.
sector will be without a job. Right? So they won't be let go, but they'll be without a job. That's what they're saying. This is the terminology. And to give you guys a context on what we're talking about here is that 60 million Americans are employed by small business. 12 million, you're talking about 1/5 of that number. I mean, this is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, this is. I mean, this is crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Nick, what are your thoughts on this?
My heart hurts.
Yeah.
My heart really hurts for small businesses because that's, who I've surrounded myself with just based on my business. I mean, I'm a one-man show, small business, and I depend on other small businesses to work with them, and that pays me. I know a couple of people who are in the small, with restaurants. I mean, they had to survive, dude. And I was going outside of my wheelhouse, and I was like trying to help them come up with ideas of creating more income, getting a catering, maybe like even some frozen meals or something like that. But, but in my argument against some of those, the PPP and the EIDL programs is that they don't necessarily know these things, and the government is not really making it easy for them to understand.
Well, that's my biggest complaint with, and I mean, man, we're gonna get shadow banned for me saying this right now. I gotta whisper it into my mic. But like this is my problem with people, and I pick on her a lot in this show, man. And I love her. I genuinely believe that she is somebody that has inspired our generation to speak out and to defend the voiceless, right?
Okay.
Oh, I
But
think I know where you're going with this.
who am I talking about, Nick?
Is it the same?
I think is it an
Hold on, hold on.
acronym?
Is it the
Well,
same?
go ahead.
Is it the same abbreviation as the minor league TV brand?
What are you
There's
talking about?
there's literally a TV
Are you talking
brand.
about some European show that only you watch?
no,
Nobody
no,
else
no, no, no,
watches?
sir. So, no, there's a TV, like an actual TV company.
All right, hold on, Nick. What is
Yeah.
your guess?
It is an acronym, isn't it?
It is an acronym.
Yeah,
sir.
what, Nick? What do you just say it, man?
AOC.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, there's actually a TV company called AOC.
Hold
And
on,
I
but
feel
here's
bad for the company.
I know, but here's the thing, right? Like here's my thoughts, right? Here's why I have a big problem with people like her, because a lot of times these politicians, they get their credibility based on what degree they hold,
Correct.
and not the experience that they actually
Right.
have in the industry. You know, when I looked at AOC, and again, I'm a fan of AOC. Let me be clear. I think
No, you're
she's
not.
I'm not. Okay, you're right. But
Stop lying.
I think there are some good. Like, she means well. You know what I mean? Like, she's done a great job at engaging our generation in politics. Whether or not she engaged it the right way and she's encouraging people to be educated, that I don't know. I have not done my research. But what I have looked into and what I am an expert in is the housing market. It's economics. I am fully aware that she's got a degree in economics. But last time I checked, just because you have a degree in something does not mean you know what actually the solutions are going to be. So when I looked at her her solution for affordable housing, dumpster,
Yeah.
right? Like absolute dumpster.
Was it a
right?
dumpster fire? Or just a dumpster.
It was a dumpster, right? Because fire implies something good, Nick. You know, when you
Yeah, you
say,
do,
"Oh,
right,
that
exactly.
beat is fire," you're implying that it is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is not even a good thing. So, to your guys' point with PPP and stimulus and the EIDL loans, and let's get serious, right? Let's go back to being serious
Yeah.
here. But the EIDL stuff. I mean, guys, I'm with you. I resonate. It's very frustrating because you have policymakers who 90% of them have never run a small business.
Yeah.
They never have run a small. They don't know what it means to employ people, the margins, the
Well,
expenses.
They know it on paper,
They know it on paper.
but they don't know anything about it.
Exactly. And I'm sorry, folks, if you're watching and you have a college degree, I'm not discrediting your work, right? But for one, a lot of professors, in my opinion, do not know anything about, like the entrepreneurial professor at our university. Did they ever run a business?
I don't know. I can't say a qualified statement, but
Sure.
I imagine if they've been around for 30 years teaching, they didn't have time to run a business.
100.
I'll just say
That's
just put
a
it that way.
phenomenal point. Sam.
Yeah.
I'll just put it that way.
Exactly.
It's all theory.
It's all theory. Thank you, Nick.
Yeah.
So for me, that's the problem that I have with this. You have a lot. Even when I was in college, I dropped out because I felt like I wasn't learning enough. Like I wasn't learning the actual things that would actually help me build a business, start a business, be a good leader. Like, and then, now that I'm in the real world doing it, it's completely contradictory to what I actually learned.
Absolutely.
And it's just amazing that these universities they sell you on why they should why students should attend, why they need to learn this, why they need to learn that. And you guys notice that it's become the narrative for why universities exist have become 40 years ago was all about, hey, get a degree because it's actually going to help you get a job. It's become, hey, get it because you're going to learn stuff. Now it's, hey, you're going to build a network.
Yeah.
Right now it's you come here for the network because you want to be part of the alumni board and you want to be part of the fraternity and you want to be. It's not about the education anymore. So for me, it's just like, do people really? And I'll ask you, the audience, right? We've got 40 people here. Do you want to pay $40,000 a year to build a network? Yes or no? That's the real question.
I mean,
Join a chamber of commerce.
right?
right. It's like
Jo-
$300 a month
100%.
or a year.
Absolutely. So for me, I resonate with you guys. It's just the policymakers are not well equipped. They never ran a business. They should not be the ones writing policies on PPP, on EIDL, on small business. I mean, you name it. They should not be the ones doing this.
Well, there's another argument too. I try not to find myself in a Facebook, debate. But I had a gentleman, I went to high school with, and he was talking about how, cases are going up, this and that. But, people got to work, man.
Yeah.
But this guy had a W-2 job at a bank, guaranteed income, right? I mean, not guaranteed, but like let's be honest.
Yeah.
He's got a regular job.
If you work for a bank, you're
Right.
pretty
And
much
so
set.
my argument was that, we have two separate incomes. I got to go get my money, dude.
Yeah.
Like you work at a bank, you're just zooming in.
Right.
I have to get out there and get after it.
For sure.
So just two different situations, and I'm trying to stand up for the small businesses here in this country.
Yeah, and that's what I don't like about banking. It just reduces people to statistics. You know, like everything becomes a statistic. Everything becomes a spreadsheet.
You're a
everything
number.
becomes a yield.
A number.
You're a number. Thank you. You know what I mean? So for me, it's just, I don't know. That's just been really frustrating to watch, you know,
Yeah.
but let's move on to the next topic. We're just about to get heated, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. So let's go and look at. So basically, we talked about stimulus. What's happening with the stimulus package right now? It can get passed any minute. Which, if it does get passed, we will have a video made for you guys. More of like an emergency
For sure.
video we'll have, just covering what you know and how it'll impact you guys. 2021 is coming just around the corner, so. You know, the stimulus can change the package can change the trajectory on how fiscal and monetary policy may look like. So with that being said, if there's a video, if there's an actual stimulus package that get passed, I know there's a lot of YouTube channel that talks about what could be and what can be, and a lot of speculative, you know, conversation. We've done that before. We want to give you what happened and actually analyze things that have been passed. So with that being said, very strong likelihood that we will get something probably by the end of the year. Once that happens, let's make things happen. Okay, let's go over to. Oh, before we get to the next topic, can't go without plugging our book. So, guys, if you are wanting to invest in real estate, if you've been wanting to buy rental properties to escape this crazy economy, right, and not be at the mercy of a job, guys, 0 to 75 units in 1 year. We're going to show you exactly how my brother and I were able to buy 75 rental units in just 1 year. And we did this without using our own money, without using our own credit. In fact, we didn't have credit. So we can show you how we do that. 2021 could be your breakout year. So go and get your free book today at 0 to 75units.com. And it's again 0 to 75units.com. Free book, just pay for shipping. It's a great Christmas present, by the way.
Yeah.
Right? Grab this for someone you love that you want to see them successful. Okay. If you know somebody that you don't like, then don't buy this. You know, buy them this book too. You know, just so that they just have it for, I don't know, firewood.
You good
candle.
there?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just really hot right now. And
Yeah, take off
Yeah.
the vest. You wear
Yeah.
that vest every day, dude.
I'm
You're
kinda
worried
like,
that people are going to shoot you or something? Or?
No, I don't have anything underneath. But yeah, so grab your free copy of the book. Sorry about that. I got a little heated and like, man, I'm breaking a sweat now.
All right, I think they get it. So get the book, guys.
Yeah.
There we go.
Go for
All right,
it.
But speaking of let's talk about the housing market.
Okay, let's go to the housing
Right?
market.
So here's an interesting article that was released by Housing Wire, which is a valid source, right? But they're talking about sales trends, and for me, you know, this market. I'm sure you guys have heard in some of the videos I've released about the housing market, but the seller to buyer ratio in terms of inventory, we're hitting records, right? In terms of ever, right?
Yeah.
So here's what's really interesting. So Housing Wire, I'm just quoting the article here. So 2020 has been a remarkably strong year for the housing market. Sales volume has remained elevated compared to last year. So long story short, let me just sum up this for you. So we are on pace, right? Because 2020 is not over yet, to see 5.66 million homes sold in 2020. That is a solid, and this is probably the only market that grew. Well, actually, no, S&P, everything's up. Bitcoin's up, S&P year over year. Wonder why? That has anything to do with Federal Reserve. Anyways, 5.66 million homes sold in 2020. That's a 6% growth over 2019. Which, by the way, is that you're talking about sales volume. You're not talking about the actual price of the home.
Right.
If you're looking at the median sales price in America, I think that number is 15.6% increase year over year compared to last year, which, by the way, guys, is unheard of. It's absolutely unheard of. They're projecting in 2021 6.9 million homes sold, and that is a 21.8 annual growth. What is most likely going to be the strong? So they're predicting 6.9 million homes sold, 21.8 annual percent growth, and they're saying is that 2021 is going to be the strongest year for sales growth since the Great Depression, is what they're saying. That's what they're projecting.
Yeah.
With current low mortgage rates, with inventory getting higher, they're projecting that home sales are going to increase. It's going to be the biggest since the Great Recession. I've got my thoughts about it. What are your guys' thoughts?
Well, we got to look at all the possible inventory that could be dumped after December 31st, because that's when, well, technically it's now January 31st, because after January 31st, all the mortgage forbearance programs, all the assistance, all the eviction moratorium, gone, right? And there could be a couple of things. So let's talk about the sales side, right? The actual ownership side. My not fear, but my concern is that all the people who had this FHA 3.5% down, now it's 0 down. My gosh, all these people who were barely making it in terms of the qualification for a new loan or new purchase financing. I have a feeling that they're going to be so darn close. They're going to be the one that probably felt this the most because these are individuals with 630, 620 credit score, bare minimum income to make it through the door of the FHA. Most likely, probably got laid off or furloughed during COVID-19, and they're on this mortgage forbearance program, and they're just like hanging on the thread, right? Now, as soon as the bank stops the mortgage forbearance programs and they're now required to pay back. Well, hold on. Where are they going to get the money to come back and bounce back? Will they be able to continue making those mortgage payments? If they had a forbearance up to 6 months or up to 12 months, if it's, of course FHA, have they had enough time to readjust back to paying the mortgage every month, right? And if they can't make the payments, they're now default, and by nature, this will lead to foreclosure. So my kind of, I guess, domino effects thinking is that come 3 to 6 months, we may see just a large swelling numbers of distressed inventory. People who have to, foreclosed homes, auctions, people who have to do short sales because they can't make it. You got the deed in lieu. Basically, this is the option where you just give the property back to the bank because you just can't pay back. So that's what I'm sensing. When and if those inventory does hit the market, I think that's where you're going to see some cooling off.
Yeah, so I think there's going to be a crash. I don't think it's just going to cool off. I think it's going to be completely 180 turn. By the way, Edwin, I really love the comment you made here, right? Talking about the $15,000 tax credit for first-time home buyers. So that actually is a Biden policy.
That's a Biden policy.
It's a Biden policy, right? Because he wants to incentivize people to buy, their first homes, which, in my opinion, can or cannot work. If there's anything that I've learned about economic psychology, is that just because it's available, people will use it.
Yeah.
Right. As long as it's available, people will use it. People, let's be real, right? Even in the real estate investing world, people will refinance every strip of equity they possibly can to go ahead and do the next deal.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. Kind of dumb.
Which never, in my opinion, you should never do. Yeah. You should never ever do. You just never know what the market's going to do. You're taking a big risk, right?
Which,
but
go ahead.
Yeah. So, but in my opinion, that $15,000 tax credit is not gonna. It's not gonna. Yes, it's gonna incentivize individuals to buy their home, right? Technically, I'll be a first-time home buyer, right? Because the way we bought our first home was through contract for deed.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll be able to use it, right? But here's the thing: if you really want the market to shift, right? You don't give them a tax credit, a $15,000 tax credit for buying their first home. You instead, right now is probably, in my opinion, the worst time to institute that policy, in my opinion.
Right.
Right. You got to let the market do its thing. Right now, the reason why you have such an upscale, inflated market right now is because the amount. I mean, it's very simple. The Federal Reserve has over $7 trillion in their treasury, right? Like, there's so many things going through my mind right now, right? But we have so many things that are overinflated because of the amount of money that's being pushed into the market, the amount of money that's being pushed into the cash cycle, right? The transaction cycle. If you want to do that, you got to find some way to let the market reset itself, the free market reset itself.
Oh, geez, don't say reset.
Oh, sorry, man. My bad. But I mean, in all sincerity, right? Like, in all reality, I believe they're gonna find some way to just kick the can down the road. If we're gonna be honest, we're gonna feel somewhat of a small sting in 2021. We will feel a small sting. The amount of displacements that are gonna happen in the rental housing market is gonna be absurd. Unemployment, right? I mean, there's people right now, right? The stock market's doing great, the housing market's doing great, and yet there are people who can't buy groceries right now. That's where we're at in this economy. It's a very artificial, it's a very artificial market that's happening right now.
It's a Mickey Mouse economy.
It's a Mickey Mouse. Yeah. It's a Mickey Mouse economy. But in my opinion, right? I think 2021, we're gonna see a little bit of a sting. Prices are gonna drop. Media outlets are gonna go crazy. And then there is going to be some type of easing, some type of pumping money There's going to be some type of kicking the can down the road, and 2022 market's going to be back up, and we're going to call it a recovery, is what we're going to do. So that's the part that worries me. In regards to the $15,000 tax credit, I don't see how that resets the housing prices to where they should be. The bigger issue right now that first-time home buyers have is not their capability to buy a home.
Yeah.
Right? It's very clear. There's a lot of programs that help people buy a home. It's the purchase price right now. It's the prices that have increased year over year for the last 7 to 8 years. Right? And the fact that the median sales price has gone up 15.6%. If you're going to give a $15,000 tax credit, you're only making that situation significantly worse. Right now, you're in a moment where cash is trash. Right? Ray Dalio is saying it. Grant Cardone's saying it. Robert Kiyosaki's saying it. If you look at what's happening to the commodities market, especially, dare I say, the Bitcoin market.
Right.
The reason why
which we'll talk about it in
which
in the
we will
show.
talk
Yeah.
about. The reason why these other alternative currencies are going up is because the cash has gotten significantly weaker. It has. It's happening across the global economy. It's happened to Japan. It's happened to the United States. It's happening to Sweden. Well, not Sweden. Sorry. It's happening to a lot of things. So my concern is if you're adding that in there, you're only making the situation worse. It looks great on paper. It looks great to people like AOC, who has an economic degree, but yet has never done anything in the real world.
Or lived in the suburbs.
Or lived in the suburbs. But in my opinion, it's not gonna help the overall market, right? It will help people, don't get me wrong, but it's not gonna help the overall market. All right?
Yeah.
It's just not.
Let me give you the worst case scenario, because I'll go down this route. This is what happens. People start defaulting on loans, right? Then banks can't, repay their debt. The Fed's going to buy up every single mortgage in the country.
And that's a scary thing.
That's
a scary thing.
The Fed's going to buy up every single thing in the country. And then they're going to be like, hey, guess what, guys? You want to pay this anymore?
Well, the problem is that the government or the Federal Reserve is technically not the government. It's a private organization.
Correct.
The government and the Federal Reserve, they just won't let the market do its thing. Like, come on, leave it alone. Like, let it drop when it has to drop.
Because we got some bald brother in Davos, Switzerland, saying that we need to reset things.
Yeah, you got to let it drop, man. The market has to play out. I'm a huge fan of laissez-faire, right? Let the market play out. Let capitalism do its thing.
Yeah, free market.
Thank you. Free market. When you start to have government intervene anything, it just becomes messy. Think about student loans. Government intervened the student loan market because before the 2000s, vast majority of the student loan lending programs were private. I think 80 to 90% of all student loan lending programs prior to 2005 were all private. Wells Fargo wasn't that game, Chase wasn't the game, and something shifted in the late 2000s and early 2010s, where government's like, all right, we're gonna start backing all student loans.
Well, you know what it was, right?
What was it?
It was the guy who
Say
it was the guy in office at the time, dude. He started coming out and started saying,
Yeah.
everybody needs to go to college.
Yeah.
America, we need to have everyone go to college.
Yeah.
That's the only way.
Hold on, wait, hold on. What if I want a bank loan, or what if I want a loan for a business instead of going to a college?
Man, shut up. You don't need that. You gotta go to college. It's just that plain and simple.
It's the same amount of money.
Right. So that's scary because that tells me we're gonna see. Oh man, I don't know what your thought is. Maybe you have a different thought than I do, but we may see another, not 2008, but something like 2008 version for student loans.
Yeah, I agree, man.
You know?
Think about the amount of private securities that are on student loans right now.
It's nasty. It's just
Do you think
pure
people are able to
nasty.
pay it right now? No,
Dude,
man.
it's terrible.
Are you kidding
and,
me?
And if to make the matters worse, it's kind of good, but to make the matters worse, I guess in a more macroeconomic sense, is that this year, part of the CARES Act, all student loan interest is 0.
Yep.
And it's deferred. Okay, so it's just kicking the can down the road. Yes, I get that it's not interest bearing. It's not yielding any late fees. But it's I don't know. I'm not a big fan of government intervening with privatization, private lending, private anything.
Here's the thing. I would disagree with you to an extent.
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay with government intervening as long as they know what they're doing.
Well, I'm okay with them being a fair referee.
For sure. No, absolutely.
mean?
Because yes, I mean there have been a need for there to be some regulations on big corporations doing things that are very unethical.
Right, like antitrust laws.
Right, antitrust
and,
laws to the environment, predatory lending.
Amazon.
Right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, man. You know, I'm all about that. But the problem then becomes, you have people and individuals making laws that just again have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
Think about this whole thing with, this disease that's going around. I don't
Yeah.
want to say it. 'Cause I
Oh
don't
yeah.
really-
Let's not get shadow banned. Let's not get
sure.
taken down.
COVID.
Like every
We call it
doctor,
COVID.
every doctor I've spoken to, and by the way, we work with a lot of medical professionals because a lot of them are high net worth individuals. They invest into our fund, right? But every doctor that I have spoken to, and I've spoken to, I would say at least 10, and I'm being very honest when I say at least 10, and I've asked them, in your opinion, like what do you think about these policies? Like, do you agree with lockdowns? Do you agree with what do you think? And every single doctor that I have talked to, by the way, minimum of 25 years, each and every single one of them, right? They've got a problem with these policies.
Yeah.
And they're like, these rules make no sense. Like every single one of them says, we don't need a lockdown.
Yeah.
A lockdown is not necessary.
Yeah.
It's like wearing masks, social distancing, everybody wash your hands. Yes, that's legit.
Yeah.
Right. That we do need to do. But a lockdown, no. Like you're hurting more people by doing it.
Well, you have to understand what is the goal at the end of the day. Are you there's
know, man.
you can't kill the virus, right? By locking it down. By locking it down, locking the economy down, you don't kill the virus. The whole goal was, for wearing a mask and socially distancing was to not cause a massive flood in the hospital. That's it. Like that was the goal. Like they were initially trying to flatten the curve, as they say, right?
Right.
They didn't want the hospitals to be overwhelmed. And I'm not a medical professional to give you any kind of qualified opinion, but just from my own observation with my two nuggets here, I don't think the goal from the beginning was to completely eradicate the virus. I think part of a lot of medical experts, at least what they think, is this virus is here to stay, right? But is the goal to completely eradicate it, or is it to at least kind of lessen the suffering, lessen the amount of people going to the hospitals?
We have seen
right?
time and time again that viruses mutate.
Yeah, that's true.
They mutate, right? So I mean, the lockdown is not necessary. A lot of the younger, people in our generation who work in the medical industry, they're freaking out. They're saying, "Oh, this is the worst thing." Well, yeah, of course, because you've never seen anything
before.
You don't,
this. Right?
Like, boy, you don't got no experience. You know what I mean? So for me, let's talk about the effect though. Going back to the topic of economics and housing market, and kind of what we specialize here in the Kwak Brothers, what we're experts at. Right. For me, I'm glad. In many ways, I am glad the pandemic happened because it just shows you how inflated the market was.
Right.
Because the fact that you have record highs in unemployment, you have record in all these things. But yet, housing market's doing great. S&P 500 is doing great. The Dow is doing great. Crypto market's doing great. Like every single market is doing phenomenal. You know what I mean? And why is that? And I think the answer is very, very simple. Right?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, let's get on to Bitcoin.
Yeah, let's transition to Bitcoin. But before we do, guys, I think it was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, we launched our show, The Closing Table. And we're going to be doing another episode very soon. So we haven't decided if we want to release the next episode next Wednesday or not, because of course Christmas being in play. So let me know what you guys are thinking. And by the way, if you guys are wondering what the show is all about, basically it's like Shark Tank for real estate. So people with real estate deals can come on. We help them analyze the deal. It's a lot of fun because we get to be brutally honest. We tell the person, hey, this deal sucks, or the deal is really great, and we get to kind of experiment with different analysis.
Yeah,
so
and then once in a while we see some crazy people in there, but hey, that's all fun. That's all fun and games, right? I mean, this is exactly what we do. So
right, exactly. So that being said, let's go transition over to Bitcoin
what do you
or
think, Sam?
cryptocurrency.
Have you done any research on it?
I am getting to the research. Here's my thought. I don't think I'll ever want to be an expert in Bitcoin. I don't think that's the goal. I don't have any passion with cryptocurrency. But do I see that the potential of cryptocurrency becoming somewhat mainstream down the road? Yes. So in that sense, I am doing a little bit of research so that I can understand where this is going, how mainstream will it be, if it does become mainstream, where and how to an extent will it impact our life. So I do think eventually it will take over, or I wouldn't say replace, but I think it will somewhat take over the traditional fiat currency in the long term. But probably won't happen for the next 10 or 12 years.
Nick, what do you
20 years.
think?
Well, my only experience with Bitcoin was back in 2010 when I was into the deep web and looking to probably buy not the most legal things in the world.
Sure.
But that's when it was cheap, and I was gonna be like, you know what? Let's start mining it. Let's get the ball rolling. And if I would have did that back then and had just had like one Bitcoin,
Yeah.
Everyone says that now, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Oh, I had 2 Bitcoins
Yeah.
back in the day.
Right,
If I
right.
had it, I would have been rich.
right?
You know?
So, but the thing that I worry about with Bitcoin, how secure will our transactions be?
Yeah. Or are you talking about specifically Bitcoin or cryptocurrency? in
Just
general?
crypto
Okay.
in general, but also too, how many times do we see people just paying cash for things, for services?
Very rarely.
Well, I would argue
You see it a lot more.
more
Really? You
more
guys think we
domestic
see
stuff.
more cash?
I would
now?
say
I agree
so.
with
I mean, I pay cash to the guys that cut my lawn.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
pay
I
cash to Facebook Marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
But if we move to a digital currency, all that stuff can be tracked and taxed.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's your guys' observation, but more so than ever, I've seen more card transaction, more Venmoing, more. If I can send money via app, I see more of that than. If you look at the aggregate, I think you see more digital transfers than
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. But then,
actual hard paper.
but
I
if
think
we
Nick also hangs out with more people.
That may be true. That could be true.
well, I guess what I'm trying to get at is like if I'm going to a trade show,
Yeah.
or if I'm gonna go hire somebody to like fix my basement or anything like that, I mean, this might be wrong of me, but I am a libertarian. I'll be 100% honest. I don't want to pay taxes on stuff to somebody who I think deserves the full,
Yeah.
thing of the money.
I agree. Absolutely, man.
So that's my biggest thing is that you'll be able to track transactions. You'll be able to know when I bought like a table from Facebook Marketplace if I got to pay for it with a digital currency.
Right.
I don't want to have that.
I see what you're saying. You
I-
don't want to. You don't want any paper trail.
Exactly. I mean, it's not like I'm going out there buying kilos of cocaine or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's the other people do that stuff, and if
Yeah.
you're buying Bitcoin with drugs, good for the DEA, right? But bad for the black market.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, my only concern is that the value of Bitcoin fluctuates so much more than the value of cash. For me, that's my only concern.
Yeah. Like how do you actually? So how do you use it when the thing is changing every day? How do you you know what I mean? So like we know if you go to Walmart today, I can get a can of Coke for $1.
So I'm not worried about that, right?
Yeah.
Because cash value does change every day, right? The inflationary rate changes every month, right? If you go to the
Right.
Federal Reserve, right? So I'm not worried about that. But for me, with Bitcoin, I'm more so worried about the effects of what it does to the market, right? Because if you look at futures, if you look at the cash
go
market,
and elaborate.
if you look at commodities, right, these things do fluctuate,
Right.
but then we already know how it fluctuates certain markets. For example, right, if you know that commodities are up, well, you can make a genuine, reasonable argument that hey, cash is probably not doing so well, right?
Sure.
Like back in 2016, 2017, I told everyone, hey, go buy gold.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't do it because for me, I'm a real estate guy.
Yeah.
Right. But I told everyone go buy gold. Right. Because I mean, the amount of quantitative easing that was invented back in 2010, right, to the amount of cash that they're going to start dumping, and then gold went up and up and up and up, and it did super well. And then Bitcoin is kind of taking the place of hey, alternative currency as opposed to just a regular commodity. But I mean, in my opinion, if you got something like a Bitcoin, you don't know how the fluctuations of that is going to affect other markets. That's the part where it makes me really nervous.
Yeah.
Another question that I really have is it really backed by anything? Right? Like, what is the foundational aspect of Bitcoin? Right?
Yeah.
And I want to see, like, I would love to see, and we'll do it. By the way, we're gonna post a video on Monday,
Right.
about Bitcoin and the housing market.
Yep.
Right. I'm actually going to do some insight on how Bitcoin, if it does go mainstream, how will it affect the housing market? How is it going
Yeah.
to affect real estate?
I feel like Bitcoin
Right.
is it's. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's just basically emotions. Like people, how like it's going up. Therefore, there's gonna be like this opposing.
Yeah, well,
like this opposing force of people selling, right? And you see the sellout, and then the price drops, and be like, let's buy, let's buy because a bunch of people sold. Price went down, right? And it just goes back up again. So I don't know. It just I'm not an expert in Bitcoin. I'm still learning. I'm happy to say I'm totally ignorant. But that's what it seems like looking at a lot of the chart and
Well, Another thing too that I want to add on to this is you're going to see a lot more fees. I heard a secondhand story from a friend of mine who was talking about this. I think it was like a restaurant or some commerce place that accepts Bitcoin, and the fees that
I see
were
Yeah,
charged.
it's ridiculous. It's like 30% right, Nick?
That's
Was
ridiculous,
that Daniel? Was that you telling me that?
I think so.
Yeah. So you're my friend that was telling me that, and
Yeah.
it's like I'm sure eventually it'll go down, but if it's going to be viable at one point, the fees can't be that ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, the big question is I want to see it. I'd be really curious to see the journey that Bitcoin's going to take going from a commodity to an actual currency. Because right now, I just see it as a commodity.
Right.
You know, I do. And if you want my honest opinion, I think it will always be a commodity. Right? It just so happens that we are in a time right now where cash is trash. And the reason being is because they're printing a bunch of it. Right? And the markets are overly inflated. That's why I feel like Bitcoin is so popular, is because a lot of people buy into the infrastructure. They buy into the blockchain technology is what they're buying into.
Yeah.
Bitcoin just happens to be the most popular kid on the block. Right?
How funny is it that people are, valuing Bitcoin in dollars?
I think that's very ironic because you're valuing what's supposed to be a currency with another currency.
Right.
Is what you're doing.
Exactly. So it's like a kind of a weird dichotomy.
Yeah.
Can you imagine in the future it's like, hey, I'm gonna pay my tuition half in Bitcoin and half in cash. Like, can you imagine that day will come?
Me
But
buy
here's
this
the thing.
car.
Here's why I don't think that Bitcoin will always be a commodity. Or I'm sorry. Here's why I think Bitcoin will always be a commodity and never a currency, is because reputable institutions, large-scale institutions that operate at securities, they operate based on value, they operate based on markets. Their survivability is based on a standard, right? Their survivability is predicated on certain yields, right? Imagine trying to buy a 180 unit apartment complex and trying to predict cash flow buying it in Bitcoin. How do you do that?
Right.
You can't.
You almost need another vehicle.
Well, that's what I mean. It's not backed by anything.
So you almost need almost like another currency that is backed by Bitcoin. That's kind of weird.
Well, that's why. I mean, and a lot of people ask, like, well, Daniel, what about when Nixon took the dollar off
the gold standard? Yeah.
I'm not a crook.
Right. Well, that works. In my opinion, that works because literally shortly after we saw the economy being significantly more globalized. We saw a lot more global trade.
Oh boy.
So the U.S. dollar was it's not going to go run off, do its own thing, because you're trading with other companies that have their own currency, right? The problem that I have is if you have Bitcoin, it becomes one digital currency for the entire world. Well, in that case, what is it backed by, right? I mean, I understand there's infrastructure. I understand that aspects for security measures. But in my opinion, I don't see a giant REIT, right, which is a real estate investment trust that manages $10 billion. I just don't see them getting investment dollars in the form of Bitcoin because it's impossible to calculate. So for me, I run a real estate fund, and we do this thing called an NAV. An NAV stands for the net asset value. And what you're doing is you're calculating the value of the portfolio at the time an investor invests money into the deal, into the portfolio. It's very huge in the hedge fund model, but no one ever does it in real estate. Our firm is the first to do it in the real estate world.
Right.
When you calculate an NAV based on a currency that is constantly fluctuating and changing, like Bitcoin is, that is not backed by anything, and you put that with the portfolio that's always changing in terms of its performance, it is impossible. Impossible, right? So for me, I just don't see Bitcoin entering the investment banking world for that reason, right? Now, I don't know. Let's see what the comments are saying. Another dilemma is the oligarchy that banks have on regulators to put laws in favor of them. 100%. That's actually a really, really good point. Thank you, Robert. Callisto, thank you, Edwin, also for your comments. Again, for me, I don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't see it. But I think it is forever going to be a commodity. I think it is something that you are going to see fluctuate up and down. And I think for the people who are really smart, I think for the people who study markets, it is going to be very predictable. I think it is going to be one of those things where the Warren Buffetts of the world are going to want to know when to buy it, and they're going to know when to sell it. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, I don't know much about Bitcoin to say, oh, this is where it's going. So this is why we're actually we're making moves to find a Bitcoin expert
Yeah, if you guys know a Bitcoin expert
yeah.
that wants to film a YouTube video with us.
Well, actually, Anthony, our YouTube coach, Anthony, if you're watching this, introduced us to a guy named Austin.
Okay.
And he might be a potential candidate for a collaboration and partnership.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we can get Austin to be on our channel, or anyone who's an expert, we would love to have them on our channel, talk about Bitcoin, what it means. And I would like to learn myself as well.
Yeah, and comment below right now, guys. Comment on the chat right now. What about Bitcoin do you want to learn? Right? What do you want to hear from us? Right? Because I don't know if I wouldn't say I'm an expert in Bitcoin myself, but however, I am an expert on how things affect the housing market. So that's the video we're going to release on Monday. How Bitcoin will affect the housing market. Yeah. Right? Because I would say I think I do know enough of it to where I can comment on how it will affect the housing market. But if you guys know a good Bitcoin expert, what do you guys want to hear from the video on Monday? Comment down below. If you also have any real estate questions, let's get some of those down, because we want to answer your guys' questions as well about real estate. So comment down below. But again, I want to hear you guys' thoughts. Yeah, right? It's really interesting what's happening right now in the economy right now.
Let's do it. So yeah, drop your questions, and we're gonna go wrap up the show after we go ahead and answer some of the questions here. I see a lot of Bitcoin proponents here. Bitcoin's coming to the stock market. Now Bitcoin is booming. This is Green Steel USA is all about Bitcoin. Let's see, Conquer Trading and Investing. The Bitcoin expert has to have 6 figures. No, we want to see at least 7 figures. Yeah, it's really easy to make 6 figures in the investing world. If you have fasted, you can make 6 figures. We want someone who has at least made a 7-figure in their business of either trading Bitcoin, teaching Bitcoin, actively practicing the art of martial Bitcoin arts. So we want someone who has that track record to be on our show. We don't want just kind of a semi-expert.
So what's up with the housing market in 2021? So Cuban Lincoln. So let's go ahead and wrap up the show with this last question.
Let's go ahead and do that. Yeah.
So here's my thoughts on what's going to happen to the housing market in 2021. So for me, it's 3 big things. Number one, you got a lot of mortgage delinquencies. I want to see what's happening with that. I don't think now, again, contrary to popular videos that are out there on YouTube and a lot of articles that have come out, a lot of research articles right now will tell you that mortgage delinquencies have actually gone down since the beginning of the pandemic. I don't think mortgage delinquencies are going to shrink. If you just want my opinion,
it's just on a Band-Aid.
It's on a Band-Aid right now, right? So I think it is going to get worse. So that's one. Number 2, forbearances, right? There is a significant amount of people in mortgage forbearance right now, right? And number 3 is the displacements, and this is the one I'm mostly worried about. Yeah. As of right now, we have Americans that are behind. I believe it's a total of $7.2 billion we are behind on rent, right? So for all renters, we are $7.2 billion behind. For retail, we are $52 billion behind on rent for retailers. So we have a lot of people behind on rent right now. I believe once the moratorium is revealed, it's lifted, and people will start evicting. People, we will now start seeing the effects of the economy. I think a lot of renter displacements are going to occur. Yeah, I think we are going to see the affordable housing crisis come to a fruition. I think this is something, by the way, that's been happening for years. Rent has been going up. There are a lot of markets where they cannot build these apartments fast enough, and I think there's a big issue. And I spoke about this a couple weeks back, but rent control is not the answer. Yeah. We've got to incentivize developers and investors to build more, housing for individuals. We have to see it. So these 3 things, I think, are going to jack up the inventory. I think they're going to increasingly jack up the inventory. I think a lot of buyers, having said that, the consumer confidence, the buyers' ability to purchase homes is going to decrease. I do think that. I think overall FICO scores are going to get a lot lower. I think overall DTIs are going to get a lot higher. I think we're going to see the effect, because right now I think the economy again is masked. We're seeing markets that are at all-time highs, and yet people can't afford to buy groceries. People can't afford to buy this and buy that. It's very tough. So I think we're going to see the fruition. We're going to see the culmination of these 2 things. I think we're going to see the unmasking of the economy. But ultimately, I think it's going to come back. I think for about 6 to 9 months, we're going to feel a sting. I think houses and property values are going to be extremely cheap. And I think they're going to do some type of QE, quantitative easing. They're going to do some way to kick the can down the road.
Right.
If you want my opinion, I think the Fed balance sheet is going to exceed $10 trillion this year in 2021.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's at 7 right now.
It's
We
insane.
went from around 2, I think it was at 1.9 or 2.1, and in a matter of 4 months, we saw it skyrocket to 7.
Oh, and they're back in Congress asking.
They
No,
are-
not even asking. They're telling. Hey,
They're telling.
borrow from us. Do it.
Absolutely. So I think we're going to get to a point where policymakers are going to be worried about their seat. They're going to be worried about their election. They're going to be worried about their image. And I think they're going to take the bait. They're going to make the deal with the devil. And I think that the Fed balance sheet, you got to think about this. In a matter of 4 months, they became the world's largest investor.
Yeah.
They beat out the likes of Berkshire Hathaway. They beat out the likes of BlackRock. They beat out the likes of Peter Lynch and these great financial minds. I think they're going to get to 10 trillion. Matter of fact, there's articles saying right now that they would not be surprised if the Fed balance sheet exceeded 40 trillion.
Yeah.
This is where we're at.
Oh, geez. 40
know?
trillion?
So I think because of the Fed balance sheet getting higher and higher and higher, you're going to continue to kick the can down the road to where the Great Reset might be a genuine possibility.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Great Reset's going to happen.
But for 2021, I think that's what we're going to see with the housing market.
Yeah.
You're going to see a 6 to 9 month blip. It's going to crash. People are going to freak out. CNN, Fox, these media outlets are going to go BS crazy.
You don't think they're going to downplay it?
I don't think they're going to downplay it. I think they're going to get a lot more views and a lot more money and better ratings if they fearmonger, right? And I think a lot of the doom and gloomers on YouTube are going to say, I told you so. And then once the Fed balance sheet gets above 10 trillion, once we see the Dow going back up again, once we see a lot of these markets go back up again, people are going to feel safe getting back into housing. I think there will be policies instituted that incentivize people to buy homes, right? But I don't think it's going to be a good thing. I think it's actually going to hurt the American people.
Yeah.
But again, where we're investing in right now, I think we're aces. I think we're golden.
Yeah.
So guys, I will post 2 videos before the end of the year. Number 1, I'm going to release on Monday. It's going to be at 6 p.m., right, Nick?
Yep.
6 p.m. on Monday. We're going to release on how Bitcoin is going to affect the housing market in 2021, or how could it, right? So there's going to be some certainty and there's going to be some possibility. And then the second video that I will release for you guys is best housing markets for 2021. What I believe you as a smart investor should do in the next 12 months to stay above, head and shoulders above the amateurs, above the rest of the pack. So again, with that said, let's wrap up the show.
Yeah, and I appreciate you guys again. And next week we will not have a show because next Friday is Christmas. So I want you guys to have a very Merry Christmas. We will be coming back the following, which actually, hold on, the following is a New Year's Eve, isn't it?
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Oh, it's literally New Year's. So we'll have to decide whether we want to do a show or not on that day, which should be
Maybe
very
a
interesting.
If
special.
this video gets more than 50 likes,
Yeah.
we'll do it.
Yeah.
Maybe do a New
Right
Year's
now.
countdown to the Great Reset 2021.
If we have 50 likes on this video, we'll do it on Friday.
Yeah,
New
go on,
Year's-
everyone,
New
click
Year's
that
Eve.
blue. Turn that like button blue. We'll do a. There we go. That's going up. The like
We'll
button's
do
going
it.
up.
We'll do it if it's above 50 likes
Yeah. So on New Year's Day,
for the wrap up.
on January 1st, if you want us to do a 2021 opening show, go ahead and hit the like button. Turn that like button to blue. And then we will go ahead and,
Yeah.
oh, it's getting close, 31, 35.
Oh wow!
I'm just
do
saying.
it.
I'm
Come
just
on,
saying, we'll probably
come
do
on.
it
We'll stay
anyways.
on for the next 5 minutes. If you don't do it in 5 minutes,
gosh.
you will lose that chance.
No, I don't want to seem like we're hungry for likes, but in all
Yeah.
sincerity, if you do enjoy what we're doing here,
Yeah.
do give us the thumb. It does help us out with the algorithm and stuff like that. And it does help get this information out to as many people as possible. So
Yeah, and do comment down below. What would you like for us to cover the next, 6 months?
Yeah.
Obviously, if the crap hits the fan, then we're gonna be talking about housing market opportunities, when to buy, how to buy. A lot of real estate investing content will be published
Yeah.
by our channel. We got a lot of exciting things happening in 2021, don't we?
we got a lot of excitement. I'm going to be challenging Graham Steph into a boxing match in 2021. So stay tuned. It's going to be promoted by Logan Paul. It's going to be promoted by
Jeez.
Mayweather Promotions. But I will be challenging Graham Steph into a fight, an MMA fight. That's what we're gonna do.
Sam should call out me, Kevin, on the undercard.
I should.
That's
I do hear
that's
that.
right.
I do
We're
hear
that.
that they do daily cardio, so they may have some endurance over me. So
That's probably what we're gonna do. That's where we're going as YouTubers.
yeah. All right, guys. We'll wrap up the show. It's almost top of the hour. We got 5 minutes till noon, at least on our time. Thoroughly enjoyed the show, guys. Have a great Christmas. Go spend time with your family. I know with this whole COVID thing, it's getting harder for us to get together, but man, it's tough. It's tough, right? So I want you guys to have a Merry Christmas.
Yes. From us to you, our
Yes.
family to yours.
Yep,
We love
absolutely.
you.
Yeah, we love you guys. Stay healthy, stay energized. Hopefully 2021 will be nothing
That's
like
right.
2020. And,
Yep.
and yeah, so we'll come
And
back.
don't forget, Graham Stephan, I'm calling you out, baby. Let's
Yeah.
have a fight.
Yeah, someone should tag him on the comments. So let's go ahead and we'll come back the following week. We were at 43 likes. We're like short 7 likes. So if you haven't pressed like, go ahead and smash the like button, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you guys the following week.
See you guys.
Take care.
Woo! Merry Christmas.